Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tanisha Wood.
So today I have Kenya with me. She is in a polyamorous marriage, and her husband have been married for 25 years. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how they got into this and just what it's like on a daily basis and how they make it all work. Hi, Kenya.
Hi, how are you doing, Tanisha?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Excited to have this conversation. Glad we're having it.
Yes. So I found you on Instagram. I appreciated you sharing, your life with the world in that way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time sharing, 15 years online to be exact. And so I'm so happy that now people are interested in this type of relationship.
So you and your husband have been married for 25 years.
Yes.
Was it always a poly relationship? Is that something you guys discussed in the beginning, or how did it come about eventually?
No, it was not always a poly relationship. When we got married, we were married monogamously at a regular ceremony, and we had discussed polygyny. I didn't know that polyamory was a thing when I got married, but we knew about one man having many wives, so that was polygyny. And he talked to me about it before we got married. I talked to him. I told him I might be very open to that. I just would have to wait and see. But I definitely wasn't going to be open to it in the first 10 years. And so we were monogamous for the first 10 years.
How did you react when he brought that to you? I mean, was that shocking that he said, I might want to have other women at some point in our marriage or in the future?
No, because that's totally an African tradition, and we are very Afrocentric. We were both at Howard University, HBCU. So we also just were very open-minded about living closer to our African heritage rather than adopting Christian values or Western values.
How did you guys decide 10 years in that this was the right time?
Well, there was a few things that happened. At year 4, I was pregnant with my second child, and I actually fell in love with another man. But I never told this man that I loved him. He was a member of a community I was a part of. And I hugged him one day, and I just had a complete full-body orgasm. Like, I felt so in love. I felt so hard for this man.
Just off the hug?
Yes, just off the hug. I mean, he was in our community, so I knew him on a daily basis, on a regular basis. But once I touched him, I realized I loved him. And I started having dreams about him. We went to counseling about it. I told my husband how I was feeling. And at the time, we just had to table it because we were monogamous, and that was just not something that was going to fly.
So when you say your community, are you just talking like location-wise where you live in your group of friends? Or is there a specific community?
No. We were literally involved in a spiritual community. Called the Set Society, which is studying Egyptian mythology and yoga and veganism and so forth. So we were involved in that in our 20s. And it was in that community where I met this person.
So year 4 in, you tell your husband you feel like you've fallen in love with this man that you hugged once. How does he react?
I mean, he said, yeah, that's interesting. He wasn't upset. We've always been cultivating ourselves spiritually. We have never lived a majority of our lives in the ego. We have always lived a higher consciousness. So he was not upset. He just wanted to know what we should do. And our counselors told us, don't do anything. You guys are monogamous.
So at that point, why did you decide to keep the relationship monogamous, despite it sort of being on the table because you guys spoke about it early in the marriage or before the marriage? So why not pursue it at that time? What was the counselor's advice as to why keep things status quo?
Because she said if we were even going to be polygynous, which is letting other women into our family, we would need to wait 10 years. So clearly they don't even have a structure if I wanted to be polyandrous or polyamorous at that time. So they just don't believe that women should have multiple partners in that particular community we were in.
What happened with the guy that you fell in love with?
I never told him. Never. I just love him. I still love him to this day. So I don't know him anymore, but I still love him to this day. But fast forward, we went to year 11 and my husband had the same experience with a woman at work. He worked corporately. And so he had that experience with a woman at work. He went on a trip with them, a team exercise, and he fell in love with this woman. And he came home and told me.
And what was your reaction?
Well, this time my reaction was a little bit more vehement because I had the same experience. I couldn't act on it. So now he has the experience and he wants to act on it. That was a little fishy for me.
Right.
And so we had some discussion about that got pretty heated until I said, well, let me just meet the woman. And so I met her and we went out to dinner and she was really nice and it was great, but I wasn't ready to do that. I did not want to do polygyny.
What was that woman's reaction, right? So she's sort of the outsider here. It's like, yeah, I might like this man. He's clearly married. Now I'm having dinner with him and his wife. Is she just, totally cool with the whole thing? Or is she like, I just like this dude. I don't want to be involved in anything else.
She was cool with the whole thing because she's from Ghana. Again, these structures are very prevalent in places like Ghana or Nigeria or places in Africa where they've kept that tradition even after colonialization. So she was fine with it. She was like, yeah, I might be another wife. That's how she thought of it.
Did they start having a relationship, her and your husband?
No, because I just wasn't ready. And I told him we really need to talk about this because if he wants this type of scenario, I want it as well. I had the same feelings. Mm-hmm. So what's invalid about my feelings and valid about his? 100%. So that was a 2-year-long discussion. Wow. 2 years.
What were those discussions like that were lasting that long,
Right. The primary discovery that my husband made was that women have a sex drive too. I always had a higher sex drive than my husband. Of course, women have a higher sex drive in general than men, but science doesn't teach us this. So our husbands are unaware that we have needs that are not being met or fed in that marriage. And that's okay. That's perfectly normal. No one teaches us that this is normal. I did not know that it was normal. I remember the first year of my marriage, I asked my Mom, how do we get enough sex from our husbands? I'm not getting enough sex. It was year 1. And she said, well, put some porn, listen to some porn or do. I was like, porn? Where is the sex in this marriage?
You're like, why did I get married?
Right. Why did I get married if this is going to be the case? And she said, baby, this is just the way it is. And I said, why didn't you tell me?
I feel cheated.
Right. Nobody's telling women what happens after you're in a long-term relationship. Nobody's telling men what happens. Nobody talks about the hormones that decrease year after year. It's a hormonal cocktail called new relationship energy, and it decreases every year. So we had these types of discussions where my husband needed to understand a few things, that I had some needs too. And if we're going to do this, we're both doing it. But it's not going to fly that he has this and I don't get to do it. So we had that discussion, and finally he did come to his senses. He realized that if he wants something, he has to also have it such that everybody involved gets that thing.
I actually had a thruffle on last year, and it was a man and 2 women, and their agreement in their tribe was that more women could potentially join the tribe, but no men could join the tribe. And so I kept pressing, well, what if, she fell in love with somebody or she liked somebody? It's just, he's like, that's just not our structure. And that was my issue with it more than anything, was just the lack of fairness,
right.
Because it's like at the end of the day, if one person gets to enjoy and, live the life that they see fit for them, why shouldn't everybody in that tribe?
Exactly. I wholeheartedly agree.
How did this start out? So when you guys finally both were like, okay, we both get to do this.
The beautiful thing about it is that we documented every step of the way, and that's how we coach our clients currently. We coach those married 10 to 20 to 30 years, smoothly moving from monogamy to polyamory. So we documented the steps. And the first step was authentic communication. We had to create a system where we could actually tell our real thoughts to each other. Monogamy does not provide that system. Monogamy says hide your thoughts. If you had a dream about your ex-boyfriend, don't tell your husband. If you like somebody at work, don't tell your wife. It's just, that's what monogamy is. It's a huge misnomer. It's set up so that you only share half of your brain. So
Right.
we opened up the other half of the brain to each other. And then the second thing we did was decide who wanted this the most. And it was my husband. The person who does not want it the most goes first. So we came up with lots of structures like this, hundreds of them, protocols that we now share with our clients.
And so you went first. And what did that entail?
I met somebody at a conference. I always meet people. Girl, I meet people every day that I could be potentially interested in. Don't you?
I haven't really left the house in a couple months, so not at this point.
You can meet somebody every day that you might be interested in, So I had a few people I might be interested in. And I did go visit one of them that he lived in California. And it was my first trip. And I got on an airplane and went and saw another man.
That's a big leap, right? It's one thing to say, I'm meeting this guy. We're going to go out to dinner down the street. I'll be home at 10, right? I'm going to see how it goes. But taking a flight to stay at somebody's house is a whole nother ballgame.
It was. And it was so fun. It was the adventure of a lifetime for me. And I was so nervous. And I was does my husband, is he still going to respect me? But we had all those conversations and it was go time. I had to get on that plane and go for the first time in 10 years, mother of 3 children and wife of 10 or 11, 12 years, and get on that plane and go see another man. And it was really fun. I did not end up, having sexual intercourse with him on that trip because I couldn't bring myself to do it yet. But I wanted to, and I really enjoyed the sensuality. And that's the other thing about polyamory. It's about sensuality just as much as sexuality. Mm-hmm. So that's important too. And friendship.
And so what was your husband doing during that time when you were away? Like, I'm sure maybe you guys had a debrief later. Like, was he having all sorts of crazy thoughts? Or was he at that point, because you guys had discussed it so much, was he just, cool with it?
No, you can discuss it all day till you blue in the face. But when it happens, you're going to have a moment. My husband does not drink. He was down in the basement drinking a bottle of gin so my children wouldn't see him. He was smoking a cigar. He does not smoke. He does not drink. He was like, oh, and he was just having a moment. And I came home and I saw those things. And I said, baby, what happened? He said, I just couldn't handle that first night you were away. I went through all of my conditionings and my fears and I had a self-reckoning. Wow. And so that was great. That was good for him. That was a wake-up moment. And so that was an initiation of sorts.
So after you got back, how were things different between you and your husband? Did you notice any changes in the relationship?
Oddly, I did not. We were still together. We were still making love. We were still best friends. We were still raising our children. Oddly, nothing changed. We did, have a protocol. He didn't want me talking on the phone in the bed with him to my other partner. So we just started to create lots of various protocols just as training wheels so that we weren't bumping triggers too hard. You know what I mean?
But did things maybe shift in a positive way? Like, did you feel like you guys got closer because of that?
Not yet. No, because he hadn't gone yet.
Okay.
No, I wasn't, it was the same, but I would not know how the relationship was really going to settle out until years after. That's what people have to understand about shifting from monogamy to polyamory. It's like getting an 8-year degree and becoming a doctor. It's not overnight that you can do that. So many layers of conditionings have to be worked out and you have to be conscious of them. Mm-hmm. And so we took the time to do that and documented that process.
What ended up happening with this first guy? Was he totally okay with the situation being what it was?
That person was fine because that person had a fiance.
Okay, got it.
I really like dating people who already are partnered because I'm not looking for another live-in partner, at this time. But at the time, if I had been looking and he was not engaged, it would have been great for him to be another live-in partner. Okay. So that can happen too. But at the time, no, it's fine. But the funniest part is that his fiance was somebody my husband was attracted to. So he came to visit me the next time with his fiance and his fiance and my husband hit it off.
Wow. Well, that's a perfect scenario there, I think. What happened when it was your husband's turn then? Was that the person that he first?
No. In poly, you meet people, you don't run and have sex because that's something that people who are monogamous do. Oh, I'm so hungry. I have to get out and have this sex. That's what they think they need. We know that's not what we need. We need more relationships, not just more sex partners. Mm-hmm. So he never had sex with that woman. But when the first time came, I was a mess. It happened and I was a mess. I said, how dare you guys have sex in our wedding bed, our marital bed? I just had all these reasons as to why it was wrong. I'm never sleeping in this bed again. You're going to have to bleach this bed.
Burn this mattress.
I had unpredictable responses and it was a mess.
Even though you guys, from the beginning of your relationship, were very open about your thoughts and ideas around marriage and monogamy and had discussion after discussion and documented it, even then, 10, 12 years in, you're still having this reaction. So yes. Is it even possible to ever get rid of a reaction like that where my partner is sleeping with somebody else? Will I never not be upset at that?
Oh, you get over it. You see, that's the whole thing about, I don't want to jump off this cliff into this ocean. It's scary. It's scary. And when you jump, you're in the shock of your life. Woo! And then you land and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Let me climb up there and try that again. And then every time it's easier until you're a diver. You can wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the 40-foot cliff. And it's fun to you. You're like, I'm about to jump, That's a process of undoing whatever traumas and fears that you were facing. And now you are an expert at it. That's where my husband and I are right now. And no, I never thought I could get there. No, I did not think it was possible. I didn't even want to get there. So, but being here, I feel so much more confident. I used to think, for instance, if he wants somebody else, then I'm not enough. That was just a lie. It's something my ego made up. I used to think if he gets with somebody else, and what if they want him to leave? A lie. My ego made up. These are stories from childhood, traumas, abandonment traumas, enmeshment traumas, all types of traumas that I had to work on in order to be where I am today. And that's what I do with my clients. Trauma by trauma, we unravel it. Jump by jump, we jump off that cliff until you're a diver. An Olympic diver.
Michael Phelps up in here.
Yeah, Michael Phelps up this.
So I think a lot of people in monogamous relationships don't often understand the terms. I think, there's terms like polyamorous, polygamous, swingers, open relationships. How does all that differ and how do you guys label yourself?
Okay, well, we actually wrote the books on open relating. So The Art of Open Relating is by my husband and myself, and then The Art of Open Relating volumes 1 and 2 as well. So this is a long answer, but I will give you the short version. Open relating is more formless. You understand? Polyamory has to do with marriage, formalities. Open relating, everybody who's single is open relating. Open relating means I'm going to date you tonight. You may not know I'm dating this person. Open relating means I'm doing what I want. It's more like relationships anarchy. What I want to tell you, I'll tell you. What I don't, I won't. It's just that simple. I don't owe you nothing. I don't owe anybody all these answers about where I'm at, who I'm with. That's open relating. I am open. And I don't see that as negative. My husband is an open relator. He's not polyamorous. He does not owe me the answers to where he's at.
So polyamorous says we are in a marriage structure with an additional partner or additional partners.
With additional partners.
So open relating doesn't involve marriage necessarily. It's just a way of relating to other people.
Yes. So now, I'm in a poly relationship with my husband because I see us as married. He's in an open relationship with me because he sees his relationships as circular. Everybody, there's no hierarchy.
Don't you guys have to see your relationship as the same?
No, because it's my relationship with him. That's how I perceive it. And then he has his relationship with me, his perceptions, and they fit.
When you guys meet and date new people, are there rules around the sharing of information or how often you can see or talk to other people? Like, what's the structure around that?
Okay, we don't have rules at this point in our relationship because we are Michael Phelps. We jump off cliffs every day. And so we're not afraid of that. Rules or protocols, I like that word better, are for people who are just starting out. They're like training wheels that you take off one by one until you can ride the bike. So we don't have any rules in our relationship at this time. We have very few protocols, not even any protocols, because we totally trust the other with our lives, with our hearts.
So prior to this point, though, did you guys have some of those training wheels that you eventually removed?
Yes. After that first lady, I said, rule number motherfucking 1. We're going to have this bed. Nobody sleeps in our marital bed. And we don't do that in our bed. We do it somewhere else. Which I think now when I look back, I'm like, what was wrong with me? I was a child. They're sleeping with my marital husband. Who cares if it's in the marital bed? So yeah, it's stuff like that. It's just mind tricks. That's what protocols are. They help your mind to adjust.
Now, how did you get from that stage? Okay, because I think that's where most people are. Even if they are somewhat open, there are these rules like, okay, I guess you can, but only at a hotel on Friday nights between midnight and 2, and then make sure that you're home at this point. And there's a lot of rule after rule after rule, or protocol after protocol after protocol. But How did you get to this point where you guys say, we don't need that, we completely understand and trust each other now?
Oh, we just completed all the protocols. That's what people don't understand. A rule is fixed. It has no meaning. It has no quantitative knowing of if that rule is teaching you something. A protocol teaches you a behavior. So it teaches you a principle. And you have to want to learn a principle in order to follow a protocol. If you don't know what you're learning and you haven't chosen to learn it, you're never going to follow it.
And that goes for everything.
Yeah, that goes for everything. You're not going to do it. So my husband created a protocol for himself because he always had a habit of having a lot of women in the house, moving in. And he felt like he wanted to...
Like moving into your house? Like with your family?
Yeah, with my family, with our children. This is something that I'm open to. I like having other women here, cooking, cleaning, helping me, being my friend, going shopping with me, telling me how my hair looks, helping me pick out my outfits. I like sisterhood.
I like sisterhood too, just not in my house.
Oh, no. It just depends on your upbringing. But I had a sister, so I just like... The point is that he always was doing it, and he felt like it was somehow distracting or detracting from his parenting ability. And also, was it considerate of us and me? So he wanted to work on his consideration factor. So he decided his protocol was that he was not going to have anybody in the house for 2 years. He did that. And he saw the change in me. He saw the change in the children. He saw everything shift, and he saw his power to use consideration to shape his family. And so that was the protocol. Then when it's over, it's over. He has guests here now, but for 2 years, he had not one guest in the house and not one woman to move in and stay here.
Do you ever have men that stay in the house?
Oh, my husband lives here now. I have 2 husbands who live here now. Yes. Both my husbands live here in the house and their children.
So when did you meet your second husband? And what was the decision like to get married and actually, come into the home?
Yeah, I met him 8 years ago. So I've known him for almost a decade now. He's been living here for 2 years. Now, the first 5 years, he would not have been willing to live here. It took time. And that's what I always tell people. They say, I want my husband to be open right now. He's not going to be open right now. You have to, as a woman, know how to cultivate a man. And as a man, he have to have certain skills and ideas and shifting. And we have a full community for all of these skills online. He had to have the communication protocols down. We have a whole different way of life. And so he had to get acclimated to that. He had to decide if he wants his child to be involved in an alternative lifestyle.
So he had a previous child, and the child also moved into the home with you and your family.
Yes. And I had to get acclimated to his previous wife. She and I had to become friends. Me and her family had to become friends. Like, I'm not going to get into any scenario that's not open, that's not communal, that's not loving. So we had to cultivate his parents. His parents are Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a sell.
Okay. But look, I end up going on a cruise with his family and, with his Jehovah's Witness family, embracing our polyamory. That's how meticulously we communicate and love. That's why I'm always shocked when people say, oh, y'all are swinging. Oh, y'all just sex. Do you understand? We have 5 families. My husband's family, my other husband's family, you understand? My family, my husband's ex-wife family, all involved in this union harmoniously.
Wow.
Okay, that should say it all. Interview's over, Tanisha. We out of here. We out.
Wait, I got a couple more. How do the children react to this? So you have kids, your second husband has, children from a previous relationship. How do they fit into this and understand it all?
They just understand that their parents are sort of revolutionary. They're doing something out of love and with respect for them, bringing them more parents, bringing them more support. My daughter, who's 19, she's in college now, gone. She had dozens of parents, dozens of people she could go to. When she moved to any city, she had parents to go to and talk to. This is what they see. They see us forming this network of love. And they are flabbergasted as to why their friends don't fathom or understand it. Because their friends' parents are divorced. So that's why they don't understand it. They don't understand anything beyond this trauma. You understand? So our children feel fortunate. And to have each other and new children all the time, fortunate.
How do they explain it? Because often in the home, things can flow great and everybody in the home understands it and it's a community and it's love. But once you go outside of the home, that's when it's hard for kids, I think, to explain it to other kids and not feel like othered in some way.
Right. I don't think that they explain this just walking around telling their friends about it. If their friends come over to our house and ask, who's this other guy and who are the other kids? Oh, that's my mom's partner. They'll say the terminology and they'll explain what we do. And their friends are always like, oh, cool. That's how it works. I mean, I don't know if they feel othered. I think they feel like celebrities, actually.
So where do you sleep? Is there 2 bedrooms? Like, how does the sleeping situation work?
Oh, every adult has their own bedroom. My husband and I really have not felt very comfortable with the Western concept of sharing a bed every night. So we haven't really shared a bed like that. We feel like each individual adult has their own space and their own sanctuary.
So do you do sleepovers in his room or is there a schedule? Like,
oh, no schedule. We flow as we wish.
Where'd you sleep last night?
I slept in my bedroom. I sleep in my bedroom every night. If one of my partners sleeps with me, they come into my bedroom. I don't really sleep in their bedroom.
I don't come to y'all.
I mean, my bedroom is plush, like it's fabulous. It's like all glam and glitters. I like my bedroom. I have a day bed. I just love it. So if they want to, hang out with me, they're welcome.
So in any household, there's conflict. Just with people, there's going to be some sort of conflict. Has there ever been conflict between your first husband and your second? And how do you guys mediate that? And do you ever feel like you're trapped in the middle somehow?
We absolutely have conflict all the time, once a week. We utilize my up-level communication system that we wrote because of this scenario, and it helps us to resolve our conflict. It involves being able to vent your feelings in a safe container so that you can feel heard, seen, and met. So if any of us have an issue, our ego have an issue, we can always say, hey, everybody, I have a vent. Can everybody come hold space for my vent? Our children can do it. I have a vent. Nobody's done anything wrong. This is just my ego speaking. And then we let it rip. And everybody soothes us. So we don't respond to a vent with a vent. The book and our system says you respond to a vent by soothing the venter. So anyone is allowed to vent. I have videos of my vent on my Instagram. I mean, I vented the other day about some shit. I put it on Instagram because that's how our discussions go. We do not argue. There's nothing to argue about. We listen to people's vents and we soothe them. Then we move on to step 2, processing, step 3, ownership, and step 4, gratitude. So we have a system.
Wow. Now, I know you said earlier when, some of your expectations weren't met early on in the marriage, you talked to your mom about it. So it sounds like you guys are pretty close and have an open communication in that way.
Yes.
Was she completely on board? Did any of your family members, give you grief about this or question it in any way?
Oh, they did. When we first said we were going to do this, my mom was like, well, just come home, baby. That man don't love you. Just come home. He wasn't beating somebody else. Just come on home. I said, Mother, I will never leave my king of a husband, brilliant man, my best friend, father of my children, ever would I leave him. And he would never leave me. So we're not doing that. You guys can come again. We can talk about it, but we're adults. And if what we saw didn't work, we're creative enough, powerful enough, and intelligent enough to create something that works for us. And that's what we're set out to do.
Do you think monogamy can work?
I do not believe that humans are a monogamous species, because you have to understand what you're saying when you say monogamy. Monogamy means I mate with one for life. If that mate dies, I do not mate again. That's the scientific definition of monogamy. So you tell me, who is monogamous?
Well, okay, I guess when I say monogamous, I mean in a relationship with one person for the time that whether that be a marriage or whatever sort of relationship you choose to have, but in a relationship with one person at a time.
Oh, so you're asking me if serial monogamy works, where I get with this person, I only have sex with them, dump them, get with the next person, I only have sex with them, dump them, is that what you mean? Because
and just regular marriages that you have that are like, we're married, we're in this until either death, if that's our vow, or divorce, if that's what we choose. Like, do you think that can work?
Here's what I'll say about that. Two things. The first thing is that there is a 55% divorce rate. So you asking me that question, we already know if you came home with a 55% on your test, what letter grade is that?
That's a failure.
You can just look at the stats to see the answer to that. Now, second question, can sexual exclusivity work? That's like saying I am not amphibious. That means I cannot breathe underwater. Okay. Amphibious creatures can live on Earth, and then they can go in the water and be underwater for long periods of time. I'm not amphibious. So can I get in the water? Can I be monogamous? Can I be sexually exclusive? Even though that's not my actual nature? Sure, I can get in there for a time. But how long can I stay swimming in the water? How long can I stay underwater? How long, even if I'm not underwater, can I be in the water? Can I find food in the water? Can I go to the bathroom in the water? Can I sleep in the water? What I'm telling you is we're not a monogamous species. Monogamous species, both male and female, look the same. You can't distinguish them. There's no extruding breast or ass or different organs. You can't see those from the outside. Geese are monogamous. Gibbons are monogamous. 4% of mammals are monogamous. Monogamous species do not watch porn. They do not watch others of their species having sex. Porn is the number one industry on the planet. So these are just biological markers of our non-monogamy. And then you can look at the stats to also see our basic primal non-monogamy.
But then why did your community suggest staying monogamous for 10 years then, if that's our nature?
That community we were in, they also suggested that women don't need to do this. They suggested it because they're patriarchal. Because they are westernized, because they are looking at history from a short view, from the view of the big three religions. That's why.
So do you think everybody is fit for a poly relationship then?
I think everybody's already in a poly relationship. You're in a poly relationship as soon as you're born because you love your mama and your daddy, and you do not have to choose. Then your sisters and brothers come along, you poly. You love 5 people. What you're talking about is sex. Polyamory is about love. I love many. Poly means many. Amory means love.
Well, what's the sex part? How does that come in?
Well, sometimes when people love each other, they get sexual. But polyamory is about love. And you can love many people at one time. That's proven on the day of your birth.
Do you think that it's possible for people over long periods of time to maintain outside relationships, not with their family, but with the other gender, whichever gender they're attracted to, and have that just be that and not a sexual relationship?
Yes. However, that depends on what you define as sex. I am very attracted to women, but I'm not sexual with women. But if I'm having a conversation with a woman I'm attracted to, I consider that to be sex. To me, sex means connection. Sex does not mean intercourse. So that's going to be a tricky question. That's going to be a tricky question. If I had a male friend and I'm attracted to males, there's some attraction I have to my friend. I'm sorry. That's what the universe is based on, attraction.
But not sexual attraction, right? Not necessarily sexual attraction.
It could be sensual. Some of my male friends, I don't have sex with them, but I want them to hug me. I want to lay up in their arms. I want to watch a movie with them. I want them to rub my hair. Is that not sensual, or is that friendship? Where does the line?
Right. I mean, it could be either.
Yeah. And would my husband be okay if he came in and I'm cuddling on the couch with my male friend and he's rubbing my hair?
I don't know. It depends on your husband, I guess.
Exactly. Most husbands would not be. And so we're denying even non-sexual. We're denying connection. That's what we're denying. So you got to take this concept that sex is the tricky thing out, and STD and blah, 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 blah. That's not it. We're denying connection. And that is a denial of good health and wellness.
So how many partners do you have currently?
Oh my gosh, I cannot count. I don't even know all my partners. They probably know me and say, why she not calling me? Partners all over the world. I have partners everywhere I've gone. I have a husband-ish boyfriend type guy in New York. I have my husband who lives here, both my husbands who live here. I have boyfriends. I have elder men, younger men. I have men all over the world.
Wow. And they all know about and are totally okay with the situation being what it is.
Do they see my Instagram?
You're like, it's public, so.
I have nothing to hide because I don't feel that that's shameful. Like, I feel that that's bountiful. I can go to Hawaii. I can go to California. I can go to DR. I can go to South Africa, and somewhere I know somebody and somebody loved me there.
And do your husbands and you ever like share partners, or is it generally pretty separate?
I think that if I were more sexually interested in women instead of just sensually, that would probably be the case. Many of my husband's partners really have fallen for me. And I'm like, well, this is what I can do in terms of woman. But I love their partners. I wish that we could someday share partners. And I think that as I expand, that may be a possibility. I just am not there and not pushing to get there yet.
Wow, Miss Kenya, this is certainly it's a different type of relationship, but I love that you are in something that you are open about and you're honest about. You know, for me, those have always been the two biggest tenets of a relationship. It's, you know, we don't have to want the same thing. We don't have to agree, but I have to be able to share my honest thoughts, desires, wants, and needs with you. And Do I expect to get every single one of those all the time? No, but I do expect to be heard when I do share them. So I appreciate relationships with the structure of openness and honesty. So you and your husband have written several books about this topic, about, you know, being poly and being in open relationships. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing around all this.
Absolutely. The work that I do is I work with couples long-term, 3 months at a time, who want to open their relationships. I take them through the 4 steps of open love. My husband and I work with them together, and they are successful in getting first the communication system. You cannot be open without a way to have communication between lots of people. And then we move through all of the various tools and systems until they are ready to be open. And so that usually takes 3 to 6 months. There's also the tantra training and the sexual energy training and the battery training and, it's the sub-dom, and all of the trainings that we do are relevant to any relationship style. So our people become the coaches.
Wow. This has been amazing. Can you tell people where to reach out to you?
Sure, absolutely. They can go to progressiveloveacademy.com. There we have a free library. In that free library, you can get some good stuff. My children are in there talking about polyamory on fleek. That's what my daughter called it. It's polyamory on fleek. And so we did that video in there. That's super cute if you want to know how the family looks and hear the family talking. Then we have classes there, courses there. We have 10 Facebook groups for various people at various points in their polyamory. And we have conferences, events, books, but start at progressiveloveacademy.com, on Instagram as well, Progressive Love Academy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Kenya. This was delightful. And I really love your energy and your spirit, and, blessings to you and your family.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Tanisha.
You guys, please reach out to me at Tanisha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let me know what you think of today's show. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.